Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar with Allegiance Group and Pursuant. We're also excited to be joined by some of our friends at Philabundance today. And we're going to be talking about how you can leverage strategic partnerships through events to reach new donors and also acquire new digital donors. I've got a great lineup of speakers that are going to be walking us through this presentation today. But before that, I'd love to go over a few housekeeping notes so that you can feel comfortable with all the technology and all the ways that you can interact with us today. Today's webinar is being recorded, so if you have to drop early or if you really wanted to share this with someone else at your organization who wasn't able to join, no worries, we've got you covered. We'll be sharing out the recording and the slides within 24 hours, so you can keep a lookout for that on your inbox. And it'll also be posted to the Team Allegiance website, so you can go check it out there if you happen to miss that email. You can also interact with us today a couple of ways. You'll see a few different options in your Zoom toolbar. You can use the raise your hand feature if we ask any kind of yes or no questions or some kind of informal polling. You can also ask more kind of formalized questions using the Q&A panel. And then we also should have the chat enabled. So if you just have some, comments or observations that you'd like to share with our presenters today, we'd love to see a lot of interaction in the comments. So definitely So definitely share your thoughts with us if you've got something to add or some nuances that you thought we could add in. And then two more slides before we're off to the races. A little bit about Allegiance Group and Pursuant. If you've been to one of our webinars before, you're probably familiar with all the ways that we serve nonprofits. But if you are unfamiliar, this is your first time joining us, this is a little bit about all the different channels and technologies and solutions that we have available through our deeply experienced team of strategists and technologists. And then we're also proud to serve a variety of nonprofits in many of the verticals that you see pictured here, as well as a few other areas that we don't have pictured. We are just so proud to have been serving the nonprofit space for over 20 years, and we'll be bringing that experience to bear in the presentation that you are about to witness. All right. With that, I'd love to hand it over to Liz Lowe. She's going to be introducing us to our guest today, our partner Philabundance, to share a little bit more about them.
So welcome everybody. Today we're going to be talking about our winning game plan for sports and media partnerships. We're going to share how we have been identifying opportunities for partnerships, identifying new prospect audiences to target, and identifying channels and tactics to reach new donors. So the starting lineup, a little bit about us. My name is Liz Lowe. I'm the VP of Client Relations over here at Allegiance Group and Pursuant. I am blessed enough to be able to follow a personal passion for my job, which is making food accessible to everyone by leading the food bank and human services market over at AGP. I've been doing this for over 20 years. I can't imagine myself doing anything else. And one of the fantastic things that I get to do is partner with food banks like Philabundance. And I'll let Sam say a little bit about herself.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining. My name is Sam. Like Liz said, I am on the Philabundance team. I work as our annual fund manager, which is part of our individual giving team. And I get to work closely with Liz, Rick, and the AGP team to create and manage our direct mail, digital marketing efforts to raise funds in support of our mission, which is to end hunger now and for good.
And then the other half of our team today is Rick Rodham, and I'll let him say a little bit about himself.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Liz and Sam, and everyone who's joining us. My name is Rick. I am one of our integrated media solutions supervisors here at AGP. I'm also our food bank advertising subject matter expert. One of the things that Liz talks about is her passion for food banks. And we'll show you some slides that share our tactical knowledge, but really the secret sauce for us is hustle. This mission matters. Liz and I both grew up in families that relied on food stamps and free lunches, and we are committed to helping our partners amplify the good work they do. And I think that same passion carries over to Philabundance. If you've ever been to Philadelphia, Philadelphia is a city that relies on authenticity. You don't fake the funk in Philly. And that's what the secret sauce for the success of Philabundance, the secret sauce for the success we've had working with Philabundance is our passion, our authenticity, and our real desire to spread the mission and amplify the work. So with that in mind, let's dive in and get rolling, shall we?
So I'm going to turn it over to Sam to tell us a little bit more about Philabundance and the partnerships that they have built.
Yeah, so some background on Philabundance. We were founded in 1984 with the simple belief that nobody should go hungry while good food goes to waste. Today, we serve 9 counties throughout the Philadelphia area. We operate out of 4 buildings, including our community kitchen, where we run a culinary job training program, and we are a member of the Feeding America network of food banks across the country. Over the past 40 years, we have grown to be a well-known and trusted brand in our community and have created a lot of strong relationships and partnerships with many other local organizations, including the Philadelphia Eagles and the Philadelphia Phillies. In recent years, we have been able to really build upon these existing relationships to expand our reach and impact across the community with our own digital advertising and fundraising campaigns. And that's a bit about what we're going to focus on today. To give a little more background on some of these relationships with teams like the Phillies and the Eagles, they're both a bit different from each other, but they are both unofficial partnerships and have kind of changed and evolved over the years. So with the Phillies, we have been partnering with them since 2011 for Fans Feeding Families, which is an annual baseball game that takes place each season. The game is a food and fun drive. We usually also have players come to one of our locations to volunteer with us for the day, and there's also some media awareness around it as well. With the Eagles, our relationship has grown a lot through some of our connections with other partners like Campbell's and Feeding America, where we've had players come each season to visit our warehouse and volunteer. For example, most recently we had Brandon Graham come to our warehouse and volunteer for an afternoon, which was part of the Campbell's Chunky Sacks Hunger campaign, which was also a Feeding America partnership. We also have held some events at Lincoln Financial Field where the Eagles play for our community partners, as well as meal packing events. And because of our physical proximity to the stadiums in Philly, sometimes we have opportunities for events like this. And I really just wanted to kind of give this background to show the foundation of these relationships that have really laid the groundwork for us to leverage some of the excitement that we've had in the city the past couple of years around the Phillies and the Eagles' success, which we've been able to run our own fundraising campaigns alongside these teams' playoff runs. And these campaigns are really only possible because of the strong relationships that we've built over the years. They require a lot of communication and transparency with the teams. And, that's, we'll dive more into kind of the specifics of what that looks like. But one other partnership that I just wanted to mention is a relationship that we have with local radio personalities, Preston and Steve from WMMR Radio. For 27 years now, they have held their annual Camp Out for Hunger event in benefit of Philabundance, which has now become the largest single location food drive in the United States. And though this event has been going on for many years, we more recently have been able to expand the reach with some of these same digital strategies that we have used with some of the sports teams.
And lastly, AGP and Philabundance joined up together in 2021. And on that previous slide, there was a reference to New Heights. So any of you that are Kelsey Brothers fans, that was built in for me. I am definitely a follower of their podcast, but it's been nothing but a strong partnership between us and Philabundance too, that has allowed us to, establish that layer of trust to be able to try to find these new audiences and new places that you typically wouldn't look.
And before we move on to the next slide, I want to, if we can move back to that slide really quickly. Everyone loves a mascot, but Philadelphia really loves their mascots. So throughout the course of this webinar, you're going to probably see more mascots than you ever have. in a nonprofit presentation, including the Philabundance mascot, Phil A. Beat. And Sam, I'm going to tag you in here for just a moment. The image there is Swoop, who is the Eagles mascot. We're going to talk about the Philly Fanatic, who is a legendary baseball mascot. Can you tell folks who aren't familiar with Phil A. Beat who he is?
Yes, so Philabundance is our beloved mascot, Philabundance. You'll see Phil making an appearance at a lot of our community events, especially ones where other mascots are in attendance. I believe we had a naming contest a couple years ago when we unveiled Philabundance to the community, which is how he got his name.
And can you speak a little bit about Philly's unusual love for mascots? Because there's Swoop, there's Philabee, there's the Philly Fanatic. Gritty is the Flyers mascot. The 76ers mascot is also has a mascot. Sam, you grew up outside of Philly. What is it about these mascots that endears them to the community?
I think they just, as we kind of like kicked this off with talking about like passion and authenticity, I think that the mascots in the city just kind of add that extra layer of fun and things that people want to root and cheer for, regardless of how our teams may or may not be doing at the time. And so I think the mascots bring a lot of that energy and fun to the city, to the games, and to the campaign that we've been running.
Tyler,
Yeah,
panelist.
Gritty will not be featured in this presentation today, but he did visit our warehouse recently and was causing all sorts of chaos and fun.
Gritty's getting a shout out in the comments already. So we can go ahead and move forward. You know, one of the things, there's so much that is driving our societies apart, but one of the things that brings people together is sports. And we've really been able to tap into the sports teams that Philly loves and connect them with Philabundance. And it really started with the statistic that Philabundance has been using for many years in their fundraising, which is help us feed 135,000 people every week. A lot of food banks have similar stats about the number of people they serve. What Philabundance did is they helped visualize this for their donors. And in 2022, they started going out to donors and saying, let's help feed enough people to fill a football stadium twice every week. And we heard them talk about this in a meeting. If you're an agency, this is really about keying in on listening to your clients when you're having these calls every week. And we said, you know what, this would be a great idea for an ad. So we went down to Lincoln Financial Field where the Eagles play. We found the only corner of the stadium, which you're looking at right now, that does not have any ads on it because we couldn't use their trademarks for any participating sponsor in our ad. So we found the one corner of the stadium where we would not be infringing on someone else's trademark. And we started using that imagery in our paid social ads, telling people to help feed enough people or encouraging donors to help feed enough people to fill our football stadium twice a week. And that has now been our top performing paid social creative for 3 years in a row. And it really kind of set the groundwork for what would become all of the digital advertising, connecting Philabundance to the teams that Philly loves. And I believe we can play one of our paid social ads from this slide. So you get to visualize it. And we run that ad every year at end of year, all throughout December, basically starting on Giving Tuesday. And it has been our top performing creative for 3 years in a row. And I imagine we could probably run it for another 10 years and it would be our top performing creative. So then we decided, okay, we know that sports is resonating with Philabundance donors. Now all of a sudden the Phillies are going to the playoffs. And so we began having challenges with other food banks who the Phillies were playing against. It started in the 2022 National League Championship Series when we challenged Feeding San Diego. And I believe we have someone from Feeding San Diego in this webinar today. So shout out to Feeding San Diego. Thanks for being part of our challenge. The Phillies won that series, advanced to the 2022 World Series, where we challenged the Houston Food Bank. And I think we have some Houston food bankers on this presentation with us. So welcome, Houston, and thank you for being part of that challenge. Houston prevailed on the field. The Astros beat the Phillies, much to the chagrin of Philadelphia. But Philabundance was able to luckily eke out a narrow win over Houston Food Bank in that challenge. And then when we made it back to the National League Championship Series the next year, we challenged the St. Mary's Food Bank in Philabundance. And I want to tag, in Phoenix, forgive me. And I want to tag in Sam quickly to talk about the nature of those challenges, because it's not as easy as it sounds where, hey, we're just going to have a fundraiser challenge with this food bank. You really have to coordinate your efforts. So Sam, can you talk a little bit about the partnership between the two food banks when we issue a fundraising challenge?
Definitely, yeah. Thanks for the background on some of the standings there. But yeah, as I mentioned earlier, the existing relationship that we have had with the Phillies is really what laid the groundwork for us to be able to run this Strikeout Hunger campaign over the past couple years. The campaign itself primarily consists of digital advertising, emails, our own organic social media content, and then depending on the nature of the campaign, how long it might be running for, maybe there'll be some additional elements added in as it goes on, like press releases, media coverage, light boxes on our website, separate landing pages, things like that. And then as Rick was mentioning, during the campaigns, usually we also incorporate a friendly challenge with another Feeding America food bank in the opposing city, which I think definitely adds some excitement and really kind of like bolsters the energy of the campaign and adds a little bit of a fun competitive edge to it for not necessarily myself, but for our donor base, and kind of help us with that communication. So before diving a little bit more into the logistics of how collaboration and partnership with another food bank plays into this, I want to give some more background on like what the factors are working with an organization like the Phillies to do something like this. So with this Strikeout Hunger campaign, we work very closely with the Phillies in terms of messaging, language, and involvement from like corporate partners, things like that. We really want to keep them in the loop on everything that we're doing, get approval on the messaging, language, terms that we're using and putting out there. We don't want to use any terms or language that is trademarked by the Phillies or the MLB. So for example, you can see here the Philly Fanatic. That's a picture of him at our warehouse. But we got permission to use that image from the Phillies in our advertising. We're very grateful to have the support from the Phillies and these teams to run these campaigns. So we really want to keep those relationships and continue being transparent with them. That's really important here. So the campaigns typically will start at some point during the playoffs and continue through the rest of the team's season. And if things go well, that'll continue to move forward, and the campaign will keep growing as the weeks go on. With that, there tends to be more excitement, and sometimes that means there's new opportunities for the campaign, such as like involvement from maybe some of our other corporate partners, which is a really great thing, especially in terms of fundraising. But we do recognize and want to acknowledge that these teams also have their own corporate and charitable partnerships. So we want to keep that in mind and be respectful of their partnerships and avoid any potential conflicts of interest. So for example, if we were running a Strikeout Hunger challenge with the Phillies, we would only want to partner with and highlight like other companies who are also partners or sponsors of the Phillies. And these kind of languages, principles of language, conflicts of interest with sponsors, things like that, these really apply to to any partner that we're running a campaign like this with, including our Huddle to End Hunger campaign, which is what we'll talk a little bit more about next.
Yeah, and quickly before we go on to the Huddle to End Hunger, you saw the Philly fanatic there. Of all of the mascots that Philly loves, the fanatic is number one. If you were to go to Philly and say that green guy in the weird looking costume scares me, they would run you out of town. You might as well be insulting the Pope if you insult the Philly fanatic. He is absolutely beloved. Would you agree with that, Sam?
I would, yes.
Let's talk about the Huddle to End Hunger Challenge because Philabundance was blessed, and the city of Philadelphia was blessed that not only have the Phillies been good lately, but the Eagles have been on an incredible run. So we were able to capitalize on the momentum that we saw from sports ads, and then launching these successful challenges with other Feeding America food banks to coincide with the Phillies playoff run. And now the Eagles are good. And so as the Eagles go to the playoffs, we issue more challenges. Philabundance was able to give a name to these campaigns, the Huddle to End Hunger Challenge, and they've been very successful. As you guys might recall, the Eagles made it to the Super Bowl in 2023. Unfortunately, they came up short against the Kansas City Chiefs, but we were able to challenge the Harvesters community, the Harvesters Food Bank in KC, the Community Food Network, and prevailed in that challenge. And then this past year, or earlier this year, the Eagles made it back and got a rematch against KC. We're able to win that game decisively. And once again, Philabundance prevailed against Harvesters, the Community Food Network. I want to talk a little bit about our association with Eagles legend Brian Dawkins, and you're going to see some absolutely incredible creative. But first, Sam, I know you wanted to talk a little bit about reaching out to harvesters, working in a collaborative effort to really make sure that both of the food banks involved in these challenges are sharing the success and that everyone wins, regardless of who raises more money.
Definitely, yeah. So we had run this campaign for the first time in 2023. And then I guess this is probably a very unique circumstance, but to be able to pretty much run it back exactly the same with the same teams again in 2025 was pretty exciting. I think added that extra layer of excitement to the competition. This year we had launched the Huddle campaign on our own without a challenge against another food bank during the wild card round of the playoffs. So leading up to the Super Bowl, this had already been running for about 3 weeks, and then all in all ran for a total of 5 weeks. We started small, not knowing what was going to happen each week. And as we continued to win, we kind of added more of those elements, like more ads, emails, and then, of course, that challenge against a food bank in another city. So as soon as we found out that we would be, again, playing Kansas City in the Super Bowl, we reached out Sunday night or first thing Monday morning to the team at Harvesters. And I think jumped on a call with them that Monday to start developing a game plan for the challenge, discussed some strategies, and started like drafting our messaging points and things like that. And then over the course of those 2 weeks, I think we had 1 or 2 more calls with them leading up to the game. Having done this before, we had some background, but we were very open with each other in terms of not only sharing ideas, but physically sharing like the design files that we were working with for graphics, logos, things like that. We did a joint press release. Anything, both of our food banks have a little bit of different resources in terms of staffing and things like that. So anything to be aligned in our messaging and make this successful for both of us was really important. We divvied up the work, kept an honest conversation, kept it fair about what funds were or were not going to count towards the competition total. Because in the end, really, we're all winning when we're raising more funds, awareness, acquiring new donors, and getting more food to our neighbors and to our community. We also had kind of like a little bit of like a wager of like, you know, the losing food bank in terms of who raised fewer funds. The opposing, their CEO would wear the opposing team's like merch or the team's jersey or something like that. So we had that aspect to kind of drive up the competition as well. But yeah, I think these campaigns are a lot of fun. They're an opportunity to be a little bit creative and make asks to donors in a little bit of a different way than some of the usual messaging that we're sending out. And I think they help continue to strengthen our brand awareness in the region, which really is also part of the foundation of how we're able to do something like this to begin with.
Yeah, and in this year's Huddle to End Hunger Challenge, we had a secret weapon. And that was a guy who's actually been supporting Philabundance as a donor for many years, who decided to come on board as our endorser and influencer. If you're a football fan, you will remember Brian Dawkins. He is a member of the NFL Hall of Fame. He played with the Eagles for, gosh, it was almost 20 years. Ended his career with the Broncos. He is a Philadelphia legend and still has deep roots within the community. And he was kind enough to join forces with Philabundance throughout the playoffs to be the face of our Huddle to End Hunger Challenge. And we're about to share with you some creative. And I want to preface this creative by saying, I think that a lot of organizations get intimidated by the idea of videos as ad or email or digital creative. They think that it requires this huge production team. It does not. This is a direct to camera video. One guy, one video. Because Brian Dawkins is so passionate as a speaker, we gave him some points and let him cook. We were not going to get in his way. We were going to let Brian say what he wanted to say. And also, as Sam mentioned, just like we worked with the food banks, the other food banks in this challenge, we also worked with Brian and his team to make sure that we were communicating with him what was going to happen and that we appreciated his support. And that's so key. When you have an influencer, and we can talk more about influencers at the end of this presentation, you really have someone who is putting their name on the line for your cause. And you need to thank them, reward them, and recognize their partnership and communicate with them. And that's how you get A+ creative, like we're about to hear from Brian Dawkins.
Hello, blessed people. Hello, blessed people. You already know what time it is. I'm calling on all of Philadelphia to huddle up to end hunger with Philabundance. And listen to this, a generous donor that has been inspired by the heart and passion of the city is looking to match donations up to $10,000 in my honor. Wow. That means every dollar you give goes twice as far to help our neighbors in need. So Eagles Nation, this is what we do. We show up, we lift each other up, and we make a doggone difference. So let's bring that same fire from the field to the fight against hunger. So text Go Birds to 91999 or visit Huddle to End Hunger right now. And let's make sure no one in our community goes without a meal. Philly, I appreciate you, and I know we got this. God bless.
I don't know about you guys, whenever I hear Brian Dawkins say, hello, blessed people, I literally just want to write a check to Philabundance. It's the first thing that I want to do. I just want to say, Brian, shut up and take my money. And because we've been able to connect Philabundance with the teams that the city loves, we've been able to tap into an entire new audience for digital fundraising. If it was easy to go out and find new donors, everyone would. And this is a way we've been able to do it. And it's had incredible results for Philabundance, and Liz is about to share that on our next slide.
Hello, blessed people. Hello, blessed.
Just wanted to hear that one more time, right? So finding valuable new prospect audiences, that's kind of what we're all here for today, right? We've all faced challenges in finding new donors and finding new loyal donors at that. And one of the things that we have really found success is these sports fans have become new loyal donors. So it's really taught us that, you know, as traditional channels and campaigns still have a purpose, they absolutely do. It's the innovative ideas that are opening the doors to new audiences that are becoming new donors, and they are becoming our new influencers, and they are becoming the ones that are chanting to their friends that may not have been in what a typical channel would have like swept them up in. So even though these don't fit the traditional mold, by speaking to these audiences with the content they can relate to, we're winning their attention and ultimately their donations. That's what we're all looking for, right? That's why you are all here and listening to the words that we have to say. That's it. We're looking for new donors. We're looking for new supporters. And it's really making sure that you're harnessing whatever you have in your area to make that happen. So because we've done that, in 2023, we launched the programmatic display and targeting the Philly sports fans, and it's beaten 3 times the industry benchmarks performance and outperformed all other prospect audiences. That's clearly a winner. So we have continued to do that over the past couple of years. And the following year, we expanded it into paid search with the Flyers and the 76ers added. Um, for anybody that doesn't know who those are, that's hockey and basketball. I have to ask just about every time because I watch the football. But there we've also hit 2 times the industry benchmarks across those platforms, and the audience continues to deliver the top ROI. That's really what we're looking for, is a good return on our investment, expanding to new channels, finding new audiences, and really getting into the trenches with people and content that they can relate to. And on the right side of the slide there is just a little bit more of the creative that we used for the Huddle to End Hunger. And you can see that Phil A Beat is all over it, along with Swoop. So again, find what's really going to resonate with your audiences and do it, risk it, try it. I really suggest that we kind of break out of this mold of traditional channels and find those areas where people can relate to us. So now we have a poll question. So when it comes to expanding your donor base, which winning play has been most effective for your organization? Is it teaming up, where you're partnering with corporations, teams, or media to boost reach? Is it home field advantage, where you're hosting live local events to engage new donors? Is it the social play, where we're using social media campaigns or influencers to drive awareness? Or is it scouting talent, where we're identifying and targeting new donor audiences? And we'll give you about a minute or so to answer this poll, and we'll show you the results shortly. And we'd love to hear any ideas in the chat of things that you guys have tried or interested in trying. Super curious about what everybody else is doing as well. Interesting. So 42% of people say home field advantage. You're hosting local live events to engage new donors. 26% said teaming up. Another 26% said scouting talent. And following in at the end is the social play, using social media campaigns or influencers to drive awareness. So yeah, we would love to hear more successes of what you guys have had, especially in that home field advantage of hosting local and live events.
Talk about some of those live events, shall we? Leveraging live events for digital fundraising. Philabundance is blessed to have one of the very best events. It started with 2 radio DJs camping out in a parking lot and asking people to bring down canned food. That began in 1998. What it's become is absolutely amazing and an example of the giving spirit in Philadelphia. Over 27 years, Camp Out for Hunger has become a Philly tradition. It regularly draws tens of thousands of people to right outside the stadium complexes. So if you've ever been to the area in South Philly, the football stadium is the link. That's where the Eagles play. It's right next to Citizens Bank Ballpark where the Phillies play, which is right next to the Wells Fargo Center where the Eagles and the 76ers play. And every year they have Camp Out for Hunger in front of the Wells Fargo Center. And they literally build a roller coaster in the parking lot. Live bands come and play for 4 days. It becomes a carnival and a concert, and it is the biggest party in town. Tens of thousands of people show up, and it has become the largest single site food drive in the United States. This past year, in 4 days, they collected 1.6 million pounds of food and $1 million in cash. And this video will help paint a picture of just how huge Camp Out for Hunger has become.
We're here to support the Camp Out for Hunger and Philabundance to help food insecurity in the Philadelphia area.
We've been donating for quite a few years. It's really great to have a focused event to be able to contribute to Philadelphia and battle hunger and food scarcity.
Donate some food.
Yeah, try to give back. We're so blessed ourselves, so we want to give back to other people.
This is a big event. It takes a lot to put it on, and there's a lot of families in need. So, give what you can give.
Plus, it's a great event to go out and see people and enjoy the music and enjoy MMR. If you're going to do charity, you might as well find good ways to enjoy it as well.
It's the right thing to do this time of year. Some people can't afford to have a meal. We can afford to share ours.
We do this every year. It's like our 8th year volunteering and donating goods and monetary donations as well. When we started, there was like 5 of us. Now there's 40 of us. Why do I do it? I do it because giving back, I think, is really important. There's a lot of people who struggle all the time, and even just a little bit helps.
It could be my neighbor that's hungry right now. There's last year was 135,000 families a week needed Philabundance, and now it's 150,000. So we have a barbecue restaurant. We collect canned food all year round, and then at a certain time around September, we stop giving them to local pantries, and then we save it up for Philabundance.
It brings people together to recognize that doing good can also feel good, and it makes a big difference in the community. So that's why President and Steve are great. They do this for the community. I mean, what could you? It's the best thing ever. 'Cause baby, ain't no mountain high enough, ain't no mountain low enough, ain't no river wide enough to get me from here to you, baby.
So Sam can tell you, Camp Out is an incredible event. Philabundance has done an amazing job of really cultivating that relationship with WMMR in the same way they cultivated their relationships with the Phillies and Eagles and other community partners. There's a member of the Preston and Steve Morning Show who's on the Philabundance board. So they are actively working as partners to ramp each other's awareness up. And as Philabundance has grown and benefited from Camp Out, Preston and Steve have also been able to build their footprint in Philly. And if we go to the next slide, we'll quickly talk about monetizing this event digitally. A lot of people have live events. I would recommend having pyro and live bands and a carnival at yours if you can, and doing it for 28 years. If you have a live event that people come out to in person, there's a chance to monetize it for digital fundraising. We know that tens of thousands of people show up to Camp Out every year, but we asked ourselves the question, how can we fundraise to people who want to come but can't make it? So in 2023, we started targeting Camp Out for Hunger as a paid search keyword. We started targeting WMMR and Preston and Steve as paid search keywords during the week of Camp Out. And that immediately produced results. And in 2024, we expanded that outreach for paid social ads. And again, the results have been palpable. Our digital revenue increases 88% year over year during the week of camp out. And believe me, that's no small number. Our year over year digital revenue in 2024 increases 62%. And the reason why this is happening is because we are looking for ways to reach new donors where they are digitally. If you can come to the event, that's great. But if you can't make it, here's how you can help. And if we play that slide quickly, it'll show you the ad created. And of course, whenever you can support a campaign with a match, that's going to help monetize it. And that's been a big part of Philabundance's success through digital fundraising as well. When we look at the scoreboard doesn't lie. And Liz is going to walk through that for us. Liz, you're on mute.
I said all my smart things. So, technology. So the impact of partnerships and events on digital ad revenue is obviously it's gone gangbusters for Philabundance. Digital advertising revenue alone has grown year over year for 3 consecutive years. In 2024, 27% of digital gifts and 34% of digital revenue were attributed to the digital advertising channels. That's not small change. And in 2024, the number of new donors acquired from digital ads increased almost 45%, with about 77% year over year increase in new donor revenue. Again, these are both really significant numbers. And we all started just by listening to each other, trusting each other, and really harnessing the partnerships that Philabundance has worked hard to grow and making sure that all of the communication channels are open at all times. So what's next?
So we're going to continue to explore our partnerships with Philabundance through influencers. And if I could just give a shout out to any organizations who are listening to us now who need help with influencers, AGP can help. We can help reach out to influencers. We can help establish those relationships. We can help manage those relationships and guide strategy for turning those influencer relationships into dollars. We're going to expand the Huddle to End Hunger campaign across more than just playoff challenges throughout the football season, and hopefully continue our work with Brian Dawkins and other Eagles legends, and even dip into some CTV ads this fall. We also have an exciting new initiative that we're rolling out on the heels of a tasting event that Philabundance is doing next week for their 40th anniversary. They're having chefs from all over Philly. And for those of you who've been to Philly, Philly is arguably the greatest food town in America. And I say that as someone who grew up in Chicago. That's a hard pill for me to swallow. But Philly is one of the greatest food towns in America, if not the best food town in America. And we have a new campaign we're rolling out called Foodies Feeding Philly Families. And we're going to partner with local chefs to create digital online recipes that will spread through ads and that will also have a fundraising ask. And we're excited to see the reach that will have.
So I did see one question in the questions and answers. Hello, Elizabeth. The question was, has Philabundance been able to get access to season ticket holder names, addresses, or emails from the teams to be able to expand your reach?
That is a great question. We have not done that. We haven't explored that. Really, everything that we've done for these sports campaigns has really been driven by us and like language and messaging getting approved by the Eagles or the Phillies or whatever team, more so than like a partnership with them where they're like actively they're letting us do this alongside their team success, but we haven't really gotten into a relationship with them like where they're sharing information with us. That
yeah, and if I could
that would be a huge opportunity though.
Yeah, I think it's really not very likely that a sports team would share their marketing information with an agency. Where we have been able to market fans is through meta ads. We can target Philadelphia sports fans for the individual teams that they follow. And then also in programmatic digital ad channels, we can target sports fans. So if you're looking for ways to reach sports fans, my advice to you would be connect with your community partners, and then in the ad platforms, particularly for paid social and programmatic campaigns, target those local sports fans with content that's related to the teams and players they love.
And we are right at time. I thank you all for joining us today. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to reach out to us. You can reach us through any of these slides, or if you get on our website, we have all of our contact information as well. Leah, did you have any closing remarks before we say goodbye?
Yeah, we had one question come in that I think was a great one. So, what if I don't have a big advertising budget to support these challenge campaigns?
Great question. And a lot of, especially, you know, food banks in particular are facing a perfect storm, right? Their budgets are being constricted for a variety of factors. Going out and partnering with these teams doesn't cost you $1. You can build these relationships organically, as Philabundance has done for years. And it really takes that laying the groundwork to build upon that success, and then explore those opportunities in the channels you can. If you don't have money to launch a big programmatic ad campaign or CTV ads, you can still send out emails. You can perhaps leverage some of these partnerships for your direct mail outreach. You can invite these people to your events, and you can go to theirs. So there are ways to scale up or scale down paid media spend. But if you're willing to invest in people and relationships, you can make these partnerships work for you.
The only other thing I would add to that too, obviously this is a whole another type of lift for your team, but using your organic social media platforms. I think when we did the Huddle to End Hunger Challenge in 2023, in the 2-week span leading up to the Super Bowl, I think we had like 23, 25 posts on our Instagram. We were posting all the time. So taking advantage of that, getting your board staff involved to share posts, any other connections that you may have to share those posts to raise awareness. Definitely lean into that as much as you can.
Well, thank you, everyone. I just wanted to flash back to this slide showing one of our most recent resources. We spent a lot of time talking about acquisition today and advertising, but we also know that an incredibly important piece of your fundraising strategy is retention. So we wanted to just put this resource in front of you, and you can grab that using the QR code, and it is also available on the Team Allegiance website. And then if anybody would like to learn more about Philabundance or follow to see what they're up to, you can access their social accounts at the handle and learn more about them and their 40-year anniversary at the QR code there. But that is just about everything that we've got prepared for you today. We're happy to follow up with anybody who would like to learn a little bit more or go deeper via email. So definitely feel free to reach out. And once again, you'll be receiving the slides and the recording in your inbox tomorrow. But thanks everybody for giving us an hour out of your Wednesday, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.